It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and we gotta rush through this one because I said yesterday we were looking at 9 movies today. I miscounted. It's actually 10 movies, so... I mean, technically I was kind of right, because we have 9 new releases and 1 re-release, but let's just get through it, because we got a lot of show here to get to here for this weekend that we have here, March 27th, 1998. I don't know if I said that already, but we're going to go through these real quickly. Most of these I haven't seen, so we can get through these pretty quickly. So, I'm wasting too much time as it is, so let's just dive on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, which was the re-release of the weekend, Grease.
John Travolta.
Somebody snaking you, Danny?
Oh, bite the weenie, Riz.
With relish.
Olivia Newton-John.
Tell me about it, Stud.
Grease.
Danny, is this the end?
Of course not. It's only the beginning.
Of course, this was for the 20th anniversary of Grease, and of course you have John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, the film that turned them into superstars, and has become a musical classic ever since. This was the 20th anniversary re-release of the film. It was digitally remastered in Dolby sound, in stereo sound, which I've never seen this particular version of Grease, but from what I've heard about it, supposedly this version did not have the best sound on it because they updated the sound on here and it didn't end up not working out very well. So this was seen by some people as not that great of a re-release. In fact, there was actually an editing error on the original Grease where Danny and Sandy were supposed to kiss that was removed from the final cut of the original film, was lost for the theatrical release. And they only preserved the scene in black and white, and the director, Randall Kleiser, had attempted to try to have it colorized and restored for this particular re-release, but it eventually didn't happen because he was dissatisfied with the results of it. So it's on the 40th anniversary re-release, but he said that when they get to the 50th anniversary, they're trying to make sure that they can get it colorized and put in time for that release in 2028. So we'll see what happens on that front there. But this re-release did pretty well, all things considered. I mean, when it was re-released, it brought in another $28 million to help it kind of surpass The Godfather, Paramount's biggest release at that time. Of course, before Titanic came around the corner to take that away. Am I reading that right, though? Okay, I am misreading this wrong. It says it was actually during the 1979 re-release that it overtook The Godfather as Paramount's highest-grossing film, which I could have sworn that was, because Titanic had already surpassed $300 million by this point. I don't think Grease ever got to that, but regardless, what more can you say about Grease? It's a musical classic. John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, their chemistry works so well in this movie. They're great singers in the film as well. The songs in this movie are excellent. I mean, even if you're not the biggest musical fan, you can find so much to admire about this movie. The production design of this film is incredible. You can tell that Greta Gerwig took a lot of inspiration from this movie for some of the scenes in Barbie, like some of the set pieces in here. I mean, really, I don't really think I need to say too much more about this movie that hasn't already been said. This is a film that, even if you're not the biggest musical fan, you can still find so much to really admire about this movie. It's a classic film, great music all around, one of the best soundtracks ever, and just a good, fun time overall. Like, there's so many quotable moments of this film. It's a classic film. I don't think I need to say too much more about this one, but Grease, it is indeed the word, So that is the re-release of the week. Now let's get to some of the newer releases that we had this week. And one of them was Richard Linklater's latest film, The Newton Boys.
The Newton Boys Incorporated. They're 4 brothers in it for the money and out for the good times. Now that's interesting. Critics are calling The Newton Boys an extraordinary, riveting adventure.
That is a wild story.
With explosive thrills. It's a big one. It's the best-looking bunch of brothers since Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You got a name? Matthew McConaughey, Ethan Hawke, Skeet Ulrich, and Vincent D'Onofrio in a bang-up adventure. Oh, right. And you can bank on it. The Newton Boys. It's a hell of a way to make a living. Rated PG-13. Friday only in theaters.
Yeah, definitely a very different Richard Linklater film than what we're used to getting from him. This is based off of a book of the same name, which tells the story of the Newton Gang, a family of bank and train robbers. And yeah, Matthew McConaughey was actually born in this town in Texas, Uvalde. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Skeet Ulrich, Ethan Hawke. What am I doing here? Ethan Hawke, Vincent D'Onofrio, and you also have Dwight Yoakam in here as well, and Juliana Margulies. And unlike Richard Linklater's other movies, I think this and also the movie he did before this, Suburbia, was him trying to kind of like go outside of his norm. And honestly, I think that kind of hurt him in a big way here. I mean, this is a film that's not really all that memorable. It's got a good cast to it and some good moments here and there, but it feels like a movie that feels more mainstream than some of his other works, and I think because he went a little too mainstream, it does kind of hurt the film in a big way when it's all said and done. It's a film that doesn't really have anything too interesting or too unique to say. Despite the good acting from the four main guys alone, there's not really a whole lot there to really make it work as a film. There's some good moments here and there, but it's definitely one of the lesser of Richard Linklater's movies, and you do kind of expect a lot more from him. It's definitely outside of the stuff that he was doing beforehand that made his name well known, stuff like Slacker, Dazed and Confused, Before Sunrise, and this is kind of a little bit of we're kind of in the middle of the lull that he's in before he'd eventually have a comeback starting with School of Rock in 2003, which was definitely more outside of what Linklater was doing with stuff like Dazed and Confused, but I think by that point he found something that was working, and eventually led to him making much better movies after that. But as far as this film goes, it's pretty forgettable. It's a film that kind of comes and goes. It's not a bad movie per se, but it's something that you kind of expect a whole lot more when you consider who's working behind the scenes of it. So yeah, that's the Newton Boys. Let's go ahead and move on to the next film we have here, and that is Ride.
Hilarious new comedy from the producers of House Party. This group of friends has just been given the chance to make it big in the music business.
Freddie B promised me a record deal, and I'm going to collect, baby.
Miami, here we go.
What does it smell?
I smell like fresh country breeze.
If they can get to Miami in 24 hours, all their dreams will come true.
I could handle the problems.
Newsday calls it funny, fast-paced, and gleefully rude. It's the wildest trip of the year. Ride.
I don't appreciate you getting with my program like that.
So you have a film here where you have a group of young people leaving Harlem for a bus trip down to Miami, and the voyage starts off with problems, but it ends up becoming a learning experience as they end up learning things about each other that they had not previously known. It's a film that kind of looks like, from the trailer, like a mix between House Party and also National Lampoon's Vacation. This is one I've never seen before, but I can't really say if it's any good or not, but it has a decent cast to it. Malik Yoba, Melissa D'Souza, John Witherspoon, Downtown Julie Brown, Kelly Williams from Family Matters, Cedric the Entertainer's in here, and the director of this is Millicent Shelton, who later go on to direct a lot of episodes of 30 Rock and a lot of other TV shows. And as far as the movie itself goes, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. I barely heard people talk about it, though, so that's probably not a good thing going for this movie. And the reviews for it seem like a mixed bag. I don't see anything that's overwhelmingly, glowingly positive about it, but I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. Like, it could be something pretty... It could be an underrated little gem, but then again, it might just be a forgettable 90s film. I wouldn't know for sure because I haven't seen it, so... So, quick one on that one. That's Ride. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and... I'm pretty sure that Ride will be much better than this next movie that we'll be talking about here, and that is Disney's Meet the Deedles.
And welcome all to Yellowstone on Old Faithful's 1 billionth birthday.
Something's gone wrong with America's most famous natural wonder. What they need are some experts. What they're getting are the Deedles.
Good thing I packed the jammers.
Whoa!
Reporting for Rangerly duty, sir.
Fine. Fancy. Terrific.
Meet the Deedles. They've got their own style.
These rookies are going to solve the park's big problem.
So they're going to bring in these two dumbasses to basically come in and save the Yellowstone Park. Yeah, I'm going to believe that. Would you be surprised to know that this film is by Deke Entertainment, which is, of course, a company that is known for not really putting a lot of effort story-wise into their materials. And it's their first live-action film with Disney, actually. And this is the prime example of a bad late 90s Disney live-action movie. We've talked about this several times, how Disney's live-action movies in the later half of the decade were not that great whatsoever. In fact, most of them were downright terrible. With those one little gems you get every once in a while, but this is definitely not one of them. That's Paul Walker and Steve Van Wormer as the Deedles, basically the Disney's equivalent to Beavis and Butthead. I'm only guessing that they thought they were going to be the next Beavis and Butthead, and oh boy, were they wrong on that front. You have John Astin in here as well, Robert Englund, Dennis Hopper. Who was this movie really made for? Like, no kid is going to want to see this movie. No adults would want to see this movie. And teenagers are much smarter than we give them credit for. That you want to that you're going to try to sell this to them? I don't think so. No. It's just no. It's just no, just no. This whole movie, just absolutely no. This movie is downright terrible. It's a film that is so terrible, so bad. It gives Spice World a run for its money in terms of much better material than this movie here. Like, Spice World, you can actually get some good laughs at with how ridiculous it gets here. This, not so much. So, let's get away from that one here, and let's go to another comedy that's probably a lot better than Meet the Deedles is. I've never seen it before, but it's the sequel to The Visitors. The Visitors 2, The Corridors of Time.
Si les couloirs du temps restent béants, alors les pires malédictions s'abattront sur cette terre.
This is, of course, the sequel to the original The Visitors, or Les Visiteurs, which came out in 1993, which would eventually lead into the remake that they would make in 2001, Just Visiting. And in this particular film, you have the same actors from the first movie, Christian Clavier and Jean Reno. And in this movie, you have Knight Godfrey returning to our time from 1023 to get back to sacred jewels that Jacqueville had taken to the 20th century. And I've never seen these movies, so I can't really say if they're any good or not, but they must be popular enough in France to keep making sequels off of them, so yeah, so I don't really know too much about this one, but could be good, could be funny. It looks like it has a funny concept to it, so quick one on that one. On to the next movie, and that is The Proposition.
In your heart of hearts, you know that I'm innocent. Has she gone to him every day?
Yes.
Are they lovers? Our problem has gotten worse. Your way isn't working. I want to do it my way now, once and for all. Kenneth Branagh, Madeline Stowe, and William Hurt. The Proposition.
So you have this father, Michael McKinnon, played by Kenneth Branagh, coming from the UK to Boston circa 1935. And for unknown reasons, he avoids at all costs the most prominent parishioners, Arthur and Eleanor Barrett, played by William Hurt, as well as Madeline Stowe. Meanwhile, the two are desperately wanting to have a child, but Arthur is sterile, so they hire a Harvard law student to impregnate Eleanor, but unfortunately, Roger ends up falling in love with her. And you have all these situations here. You have Robert Loggia here, also in the film, as well as Blythe Danner. One of two films she's actually in this weekend. We'll get to another one in just a second. And Neil Patrick Harris is playing Roger in this. All I know about this movie is that this is the last feature film directed by Leslie Lincoln Glatter, who would go on to become a very prolific television director and an Emmy Award-winning TV director, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, she won Emmys for directing the episodes of Mad Men and Homeland. But as far as this one goes, once again, I don't really know too much about it, unfortunately, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. I've seen it's not gotten a whole lot of good reviews, so I'm just going to go off of that. Maybe it might be something good, but I'm not expecting too much out of it if I ever get to see it. But so that's pretty much all I know about The Proposition. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Edward Burns' No Looking Back.
You're talking like your life's already over. Why don't you just come away with me when I go?
John Bon Jovi.
Just answer me. Why can't you just be honest with me?
Blythe Danner.
I always think you're gonna change somebody. Can't do it.
Connie Britton.
Look, I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life, but I think you're doing the right thing.
No Looking Back.
So you have Edward Burns playing a mechanic who returns to his coastal hometown after having left his wife of 3 years, played by Lauren Hawley, and he's hoping to continue what they had, but she's moved on and in with Michael and is working at a diner. And this is the third film by Edward Burns that we've looked in on here. The first two, The Brothers McMullen and She's the One. This is the one that I think is the most forgettable of the bunch. This is the film that Edward Burns later said his friends nicknamed it Nobody Saw It, and he decided not to write anymore for 2 more years. This was kind of a film that kind of burned him down a little bit because he put in $5 million to put this movie together. He wanted a budget of $12 million, but he was only able to secure $5 million. And he talked about it as the most personal film he's ever made and the one closest to his heart. But it's a film that people overall largely forgot about. And I don't know. I don't think it looks like a bad movie per se. I can't really say for sure if it's any good or not, but it doesn't look like the worst thing ever. So, I mean, that's not really saying a whole lot here. But so far, the 2 movies I've looked at with Edward Burns behind the scenes did work much better. And this one just feels like kind of a passion project, sort of. So I don't know. Maybe it could be good or not. But I don't really know for sure because I haven't seen it, so maybe one day I'll definitely check it out. But I could probably see this as a film where Edward Burns had to rethink about his life a little bit before he went back to work on another film. So yeah, I don't really know much more to go into more detail on this one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next film, Character. So in this film, you have a guy named Jacob who lives mute with his mother. He has no contact with his father, with who he only works against him. And he wants to become a lawyer at all costs, and he has these adventures that go through this movie. This film won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film at that year's Academy Awards. And it's a Dutch-Belgian film. That's pretty much all I know about it. I haven't seen this one, so I can't really delve into too much more of it. But it has high praise to it. I mean, it won an Oscar for Foreign Language Film, so it should be somewhat of some worth. But other than that, I don't really else know what I can say about this one. So another quick one on that one. On to the next one, Renee Zellweger and A Price Above Rubies.
Freedom always comes with a price.
So this is directed by the same guy that gave us Fresh. This is a film that also stars Renee Zellweger as this young woman who finds it difficult to conform to restrictions imposed on her by her community, and the title derives from a Jewish Sabbath tradition. The acrostic Sabbath chant, "The Women of Lorber," begins with the verse, "Who can find a woman of value, her price is far above rubies," which in turn is excerpts from the book of Proverbs, and the chant traditionally is a prelude to the weekly toast, the Kiddush, which begins the Sabbath meal. That's really all I know about this movie. I've never seen it before. Has a decent cast to it. Zellweger, Juliana Margulies again, Christopher Eccleston, Alan Payne. Decent director to it. Does not have the best reviews per se, but it looks like Zellweger's performance was the most highly praised thing about the film. So that's pretty much all I know about this one. Another quick one there, so maybe I'll check it out one day. That's A Price Above Ruby. So let's go ahead and take a look at this last one here, Eden.
Found a miracle. One touch, one moment, one dream at a time. Joanna Going, Dylan Walsh, Sean Patrick Flannery. Eden, nothing on earth can stop a miracle.
So you have the story of a New England boys' school and one of the students who is infatuated with an instructor's wife who has multiple scoliosis. The woman struggles to show her strict husband how love rather than demands help the students to blossom, but when she finally falls into a coma. When she is able to have some looking down awareness of what is happening, her coma is what brings her husband to an understanding of the needs of others. If there's not a lot on here from Wikipedia, then I really don't know what else I can add to this. This is a film that's largely seen as a forgettable film. A film that doesn't really have a whole lot there, except for the fact that it has Joanna Going, Dylan Walsh, and Sean Patrick Flannery among the cast here, but I don't know anything about this movie, quite honestly. I don't think it's a film that... It doesn't really look like a film that has a lot of interest for me, and like I said, if there's not a whole lot on Wikipedia, if there's not a page on Wikipedia for at least something there, you can pretty much tell how forgettable this movie really is. So, not much more to add to that one, so that's Eden. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and next week we finally have the movie that takes down Titanic after 16 weeks, and that is Lost in Space. And needless to say, I think most people would agree that Titanic was the better film of the two, but we'll delve into Lost in Space. We'll also look at Bruce Willis and Alec Baldwin in Mercury Rising, Barney's Great Adventure, the big screen debut of Barney the Dinosaur, and The Butcher Boy and The Spanish Prisoner. And a good majority of those movies are not looking too promising, quite honestly, but we'll delve into those 5 new releases on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I will see you guys next time for the next video, and until then, as always, take care.